Good morning and Happy New Year. Welcome to Sips of Sanity. I'm Kelly.
Good morning, I'm Karen.
We had a flood of emails after our November Sips of Sanity on boundaries. We talked all about the importance of them, but most of you wanted to know scripts to set your own boundaries, and we thought that was fantastic. That was such great feedback, so we thought, let's start the new year out teaching people how to actually have verbal conversations to say no. So, Karen, we're going to do this in a very disorderly fashion. There's no rhyme or reason to the way we're going about what boundaries to set. You've picked a whole bunch that are very relevant to people's day-to-day experience.
I have,
Okay.
based on sessions recently,
Okay. Fair
where
enough.
people have brought up different issues and they wanted help with that.
Okay. And I'll just note too, because this goes out to the public, Sips of Sanity is your emotional intelligence toolkit, as well as your intuitive intelligence toolkit. So the first show is free. This is available on the website, on all your favorite podcast platforms, as well as YouTube. If you want to sit down and watch us, that might be very helpful to see the dynamics back and forth. That's session 1. The rest of the shows are available on patreon.com/by Sarlos. So that's our membership portal where people get a whole month-long toolkit of really great, valuable tools for good boundaries, healthy communication, like we mentioned, everything emotional intelligence.
Okay,
Good?
ready to go?
Yes.
I feel like I'm putting you on the seat to do the scripting,
Well, that'll be telling if I'm a good life coach.
and I'm hoping I'm also going to give my own opinion and the things that I've learned along the way in this as well. So the very first one, which was not given by any clients, even though I just said they were, this one is not, because it's just a general one that everybody gets of all ages, and it's telemarketers.
Okay.
So, everybody's been down that road where we pick up the phone and right in the middle of a dinner, right in the middle of cooking, right in the middle of a conversation. I'm setting you up here. And we find that the person on the other end is a telemarketer for whatever reason, whatever skill level, doesn't matter. It just is what it is. So how would you like to handle that?
Well, this is a really funny one to bring up first because this is going to be, or often is, a very aggressive situation where they have their script that they have to follow. They're often talking in a way that doesn't let you get a word in edgewise. So I think while we're going to do it, I want people to be prepared that this is not going to be the cleanest kind of boundary because it's going to demand that there's a certain level of discomfort, as is the rest of the examples. But it's going to look messier in the sense that you're not necessarily waiting for good engagement or good responses back, and this one may really trigger people pleasing. So I want to also say that if this is something where you're like, oh, I can feel myself clenching my ass through this show, sit tight and know that one of our other benefits in Patreon is our book club, where we're going to talk about change, people pleasing, all the skills for verbal abuse. So we're going to go through books that actually deconstruct the belief systems around why we don't set good boundaries. If you're looking for more resources, so. Dealing with telemarketers under the assumption that they are talking a mile a minute and they're not really letting you get away with any kind of, no, this isn't a good time for me. This is where, or one of those situations where if you do have an opening to speak where they've been polite to say, is this a good time? This is where you get to assess, do I have the time/energy for this call? And also, do I want to, right? We don't have to participate in everything that we're asked to be a part of. So if we can honestly answer that I don't have the time for this, nor do I want to participate in it, then we can simply say to the person, I don't wish to participate. And I think this is really important. I want to break this down. A lot of people would say, oh, no, thank you. Well, they have a script for the other things they want to ask you. Your no thank you is way too general in this situation, where they're going to pull you down different avenues to confuse you, make you feel uncomfortable, guilt you by asking for more, right? If she said no to this, maybe she'll say yes to this, right? So if you can specifically say, no, thank you, I do not want to participate, then hopefully this is where they say, okay, thank you, good day. If they don't, and they go into a script, I want you to give yourself permission in this unique scenario to speak over someone and to simply say, I have said no thank you. I am hanging up the phone now. Have a good day. Click.
I get 10 out of 10. I'm grading myself as you go through this. I get a 10. The only thing I say a little bit differently is, I do not wish to participate in this conversation. That's the only thing I say that's a tiny little bit different.
Yep.
And I like what you're saying. So maybe you might say to me, you get a 9 out of 10.
No, and I wouldn't be a stickler for that. I'm offering the very specific I don't wish to participate, period. Because if we say in this conversation, a lot of them are selling different kinds of products or have a different kind of survey. And again, they'll pull us in different directions. We can't control that. Whether they do or they don't, you can still reiterate, I have said no. I am hanging up now. And I like to tell them because this gives you really great practice instead of going into predator unproductive, right? If we refer back to the master herder rules of just being mean and hitting click, we're still dealing with a human being. We're still trying to exercise that muscle of empathy to say, I understand you have a job and I have said, no, I'm not participating, so I am hanging up now. Goodbye.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it with, I know you have a job. I'm sorry. I don't want this. You don't have to go into the people pleasing. As you said, you can just be in neutrality. You don't have to change your emotions. That's something that I learned about this. My emotions don't have to go into, I'm irritated, I'm angry.
Or I'm so full of shame and guilt.
Yeah, I should. What are they selling? I don't have to be engaged. I can decide, and I do decide well ahead of time, that I'm not engaging in, say as a business owner, you're listening to this and you go, well, it's different for me. I'm a business owner and I have to listen and I have to do donations and I have to be part of the community. And there's telemarketing for that. So I have a plan ahead of time. This is how much money I'm spending or I'm giving each year. This is what I'm giving to. And so when different organizations in telemarketing call for that, I already have my script ready. So if they're saying in telemarketing, I'm calling from the police association, do you want to donate? I have my script ready. That's a no thank you ahead of time. And I just stick to it. I say it once, and then as you said, Kelly, I then say, I am now hanging up. Have a good day. So my emotions don't go up and down. And I think that's one of the things that's important here is that your emotions don't have to get triggered by the call.
I'd like to point out something else that you just did or didn't do.
Sure.
In a really great way. When you illustrate a different perspective of a business where donations, like calls for donations come in and you might be feeling like, oh, well, we do donate. Maybe I should listen to this. You gathered the information that you needed to know how to respond, meaning this isn't a company I'm donating to. This is, I've already preset that. I'm not entertaining this idea, right? What you did not do was explain that to the telemarketer. A+. It's none of their business.
That's right.
We're not asking you to go into an explanation of why you don't have time. We're not saying defend yourself or your reasoning. We're saying say no. And I will also offer too to people, I'm going to interrupt you now because this is something that we don't want to do when we are participating in active listening. But if someone is not participating in a respectful conversation like a telemarketer often is forced to do in their job, then you can flat out say, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm not participating in this and I'm hanging up now.
Perfect.
These are good, healthy boundaries. They are respectful. As you mentioned, your emotions don't have to fluctuate. Now, you might do your happy dance afterwards when you've done a successful no, and your emotions may go high and you're very proud of yourself, and that's great.
Very good.
Okay.
Um,
One more?
yes. Oh, I have a whole page.
Well, we have 5 days.
Right.
Like you've never done this before.
The next one I wrote down, I said I don't want to talk about something and someone just keeps bringing it up.
Okay.
And I know you need a moment.
I don't.
Oh, then fire away.
I rarely need a moment. Okay, so I've said I don't want to talk about something, which congratulations, you've already tried to set a boundary at this point. I want to acknowledge that.
Yes.
A lot of people don't even have the confidence or awareness that they are allowed to say, I don't wish to talk about that to someone. So if you've already tried to set the boundary, congratulations on step 1. If someone is then pushing you to continue talking about it, whether they continue on with their own statements and opinions, or they're asking you questions and they don't pull back on that, that's where you want to become not necessarily a broken record, but that is an option. And I will get, well, actually, let's do that one first. I said I don't want to talk about it, right? And if they're pushing, you can keep on repeat that same sentence. I said I do not wish to talk about it. I prefer, opposed to the broken record, to pose a question to them to really put the accountability back on them as to their own behavior. So to say to them, I have already stated I don't want to talk about this. What are you doing? Why do you feel this is appropriate after I've set a boundary of no? Because then it's really putting them into their own either self-reflection or defensiveness where you can go, well, that's about you.
Yes, you do have to be prepared that if you're going to ask a question, that they might come back with another tactic.
Right. And if that's a diversion where they're going into the different forms of verbal abuse, then that's where you can say, well, now you're diverting to a separate issue. I'm saying I don't want to talk about it. Always come back to the point. Don't try and follow them and their logic. Get your point across.
Say that again.
Don't try and follow their logic and all the different little crevices they're going to take you in conversations. Restate your point.
Perfect. Done. Show.
Oh, okay.
That's a great one, Kelly. That's a great response, and I'm calling it a show.
Okay, boss. She has set the boundary. Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to the rest of the shows. So if you guys have questions or comments for us, you can email us at info@bysarlo.com. As we mentioned, the other 4 shows are available this week on patreon.com/bysarlo. This is an opportunity for a ton of different tools, not just about Sips of Sanity. There will be follow-up questions for reflection, as well as habit trackers based on this show. So you guys can really get in and do the dirty work and start your year off really healthily. Have a wonderful Monday.